Hi there, my name is Josh Omates. I am a professional brass musician, an instrument repair tech, and I make custom brass instruments with George Schlub of Schlub Brassworks, where we make everything from piccolo trumpets all the way down to Kaiser tubas. One of the jobs that I'm tasked with in this particular field, in the music industry, is to review instruments from other makers. Especially upstart ones that are kind of looking to break into the market. I pride myself on honest reviews, on everything from mechanical action to build quality to how the instrument plays and responds. So this is a new series I'm starting called Instrument Maker Reviews. If you think the music world is small, just wait until you see the world of instrument makers. Folks in this industry are pretty well familiar with each other, so when an instrument maker I've never heard of asks me to review one of their instruments, I was kind of skeptical. The maker in question is Crown Winds, and they make the Devote brand musical instrument line. For any reviews I do, I try to make things as crystal clear and upfront as possible. I'm receiving zero monetary compensation for this review. I'm not being paid at all. I also haven't invested in anything to do with the instrument maker or the design of the instrument or anything. I'm not an endorser or anything. Crown Winds sent me this trumpet as a manufacturer sample for this review, and that's pretty much it. Before I get to the trumpet, what is Crown Winds? Crown Winds popped up on social media a couple years back. They were advertising some instruments, trumpets, tubas, what have you. For my research and my communications back and forth with the owner, Yisan Zhang, Crown Winds is located in the Shandong province of China. Pretty much everyone in this industry, as well as many musicians, are familiar with big-name factories based in Tianjin, China. This one appears to be a different outfit altogether. Yisan claims that his outfit is an original equipment manufacturer for several big-name, nationally known instrument conglomerates in the US and Europe, which are specified on their list, but I'll decline to mention them in this video. Yisan's goal is to expand into the US market with his own house brand of instruments, and they make all different types of instruments, brass and woodwinds. The trumpet arrived at my doorstep, packed well and intact. Inside was a soft padded Devote branded case. Inside the case was a strap, some kind of cleaning rod, and of course the dreaded white gloves that are so ubiquitous in a lot of these foreign made trumpets. That's usually not a good sign of things to come. We've all seen the Amazon quality trumpets that include those to protect the silver finish on it. However, I was rather surprised to see what they had sent me. I was expecting a basic lacquered or raw brass trumpet, but they opted to send me a silver-plated one with gold trim, and this is it here. It appears to be their take on a Bach 37 style trumpet. It's medium large bore. The instrument itself is completely unmarked outside of the serial number here and ML on the valve block, which of course is very difficult to see on camera. Looking on the website, it appears to be their model CRO07, which in this finish has a retail price brand new of $650 US, which is a bit cheaper compared to a typical Yamaha Advantage you get in lacquer, which ranges close to $1,000 new depending on the dealer you get it from. For this review, I have a similar level lacquered model 236 from Yamaha to compare it to, which I purchased a couple years back. Now, looking over the Devote, first thing that hit me was I did notice that the bell is facing at a slightly upward angle compared to the lead pipe and tuning slide assembly. You can probably see that here, where it's kind of not parallel, right? That indicates to me that it might not have been completely bent all the way over on the bell bending jig before it was finished, and it does not appear to look this way on the pictures on their website. The bell appears to be parallel in the pictures. There are also small imperfections left over from the polishing process, particularly on the bell section. It's kind of hard to see on camera. I'll upload some pictures in overlay so you can see it. And it just looks like a small amount of polishing compound or something on the surface of the silver. It wipes off easy enough, but to me, I feel like that should have been caught during inspection at the factory for quality control. The water key corks also appear to be some sort of rubber type of thing rather than a neoprene or natural cork that I'm used to seeing, but it appears to do the job, seals just fine. The first impressions I have of handling this trumpet were surprising in both the positive and the negative. The valve action is quite good, and the slides move well right out of the case. As always, for any review that I do, I always oil the valves with the good stuff, the Monster Oil Eco Pro, and I grease the tuning slides, make sure that they move fine. I want to give it as fair of a shot as possible. I will say the second valve slide was not perfectly aligned. I kind of need a little bit of fiddling to get back into place. But the first and third valve slides move as predictable. The valve action on this horn is surprisingly good. Valves are fast and silent. I would compare it to any intermediate or professional model trumpet in terms of action. The stroke distance does feel a little long compared to my Yamaha and a couple of other trumpets I've played, but it's within the realm of acceptable for piston valves. It's not ridiculous. The main impression I'm getting from this is it is quite heavy. Just picking it up, it was like, whew. You can look and just feel the thickness of the walls of the material that they used. Everything on like the tuning slides and everything, you can see how thick the walls are there. That's like 0.5 millimeter or more, which in most cases is considered pretty heavyweight, but it's definitely a lot heavier than my Yamaha 236. All that said, the Devote trumpet does play pretty well. It slots predictably enough, and it sounds like a trumpet. Because of its weight, it makes it a little bit harder to play. I've had a little bit of trouble getting it to play in tune and kind of maneuver through the partials, and I had to tongue a little bit harder in order to make it speak, just probably because of the weight. And again, it has a little bit of a tinnier type of sound, maybe a bit more highs in the sound and less lows. Take a listen to each instrument played on my ribbon mic. I decided to play Jurassic Park because I like the melody, and it covers a little bit of range. But be warned, I am primarily a low brass player, trombone and tuba, so don't expect Phil Smith or Phil Collins or even Phil Driscoll. Compared to a lot of the other instruments I've seen come from China, it's definitely among the better made examples I've seen. The build quality feels pretty good. It feels well assembled. I'm not seeing any solder or flux or anything left over from the manufacturing process. Despite its couple of flaws, like the bell angle and stuff, it's pretty well put together. It feels solid. That being said, we do have to ask the question, why buy a relatively inexpensive brand new trumpet from a relatively unknown foreign manufacturer? The market is absolutely saturated with Chinese-made instruments, and even if the trumpet is well made, most American buyers would likely avoid it simply because Crown or Devote isn't a widely known brand. That doesn't mean it isn't good, but it just isn't a known factor at present. Aside from that, there are innumerable used trumpets on the market at all levels and usually at pretty good prices. That Yamaha I bought was about $400, and it was a whole outfit. It included a hard case, a mouthpiece. It even came with, a Yamaha branded mute and the original oil from like the 90s. But aside from that, you could find dozens of Olds Ambassadors, student model Yamahas, Bachs, Getzens, what have you, floating around for about the same price or even less. Most of the time, these trumpets work after just a little servicing and oiling, and you're still out way less than a couple of months' worth of rental fees on a rental instrument. In my experience, most students tend to abuse their first instrument, which is why buying an older used horn is generally more practical than buying a brand new one for at least the first instrument. The Devote wouldn't necessarily be what I would call a professional level trumpet. And again, the used market provides tons of options like Xenos, Strads, plus other reasonably priced brands like Carol Brass, Getzen. The list goes on and on. In my opinion, the Devote trumpet can be best served in a few different roles. The first is as a type of trumpet for students that they kind of know they aren't going into music for a career, but want a decent playing horn, a nice looking horn of their own without spending over $1,000. If they're on a budget and they want a decent playing trumpet, but they want the ownership of owning something new, this would be a perfectly fine option. I don't really see too many issues with that. No one's gonna complain about your nice silver-plated trumpet. The second use for this, and I would say probably the best use of a trumpet like this, would be for use in high school marching bands. A lot of competitive high school bands, at least the ones in my area here in Cincinnati, are either recommending or even requiring silver-plated instruments. For an instrument that'll endure the punishment of marching band, I certainly don't recommend using top-of-the-line Xeno or Strat equivalent on the field. Unless your name is Gates or Musk, or you have, money to blow for repairs or eventual replacement. The Devote might be a good fit for this environment since it plays well enough. From what I can tell, it's built strongly enough that it would possibly be worth using in place of a more costly instrument. It cleans up well enough, and it sounds acceptable in a lot of marching band applications. I don't think it would have any issues blending with Strads or Xenos or anything like that, or even other student model instruments that they use in the field. And then the third option would be as a backup instrument. If you have the expensive main axe and it's gone for a couple of weeks at the shop, or if you have an emergency repair and you need a horn to have at home, this would certainly be an option for that. Or if you want to, play an outdoor gig and you don't want to take the Xeno out, something that you can afford to kind of get dirty a little bit, something like this might work. Overall, the Devote trumpet appears to be well made, plays well for the price. I wouldn't say it's absolutely amazing, but it's certainly comparable to, well-made student model instruments or even some intermediate models. Like I said, I probably wouldn't use it as a primary instrument. Thanks so much for watching the review. If you have any questions, or you want me to review another make or a model, or if you are a instrument manufacturer and you want an instrument maker review, feel free to contact me.